The new parts have arrived from the factory without issue. They'll be fitted to the car in time for the next session.
Hey, what's up guys, Avraham here, and welcome back to another episode of my F1 2018 career mode, episode number 44 today for the Bahrain Grand Prix in Season 3. If you guys did miss the previous episode at the Australian Grand Prix, in the very first episode with our brand new team here in McLaren Renault, partnering Fernando Alonso, then be sure to go check that episode out before you see this one. But going into the Bahrain Grand Prix then, we are the only team to upgrade our car in any kind of way, a minor drag reduction update, so it might not be the biggest update there, but we are at least the only car to upgrade. And so we actually step up on paper ahead of Force India and Renault. Force India obviously literally on level points with Renault in terms of R&D, so you can't see actually even Force India's pink line there, and you can see the gaps remain the same for Haas, still the best car on the grid technically, ahead of Red Bull and Ferrari, and Mercedes down the order as the fourth worst team. But it's going to be interesting. Obviously we had a very good race last time out, but Alonso did do us in the race and qualifying as well, so hopefully we can bounce back. But it is going to be a bit difficult because Bahrain, generally speaking, I'm not too great around the track, and also vice versa, the AI are very OP around Sakir, so we're going to have to watch out for that, and we might have a bit of pain in qualifying and even the race. We just have to make the most of it and, you know, take the opportunities when we can. Let's go straight into qualifying then and see how we do on the Saturday.
The cars are ready, the drivers are ready. We hope you're ready as qualifying is about to begin here in Bahrain. So then, Ant, it's another Grand Prix weekend, another exciting qualifying session ahead of us. What are you going to be looking out for over the next few minutes?
The first question is going to be who can avoid making mistakes. There isn't much margin for error in qualifying, and you have to bear in mind that the track conditions may have changed since practice, particularly as we've had a few support races in the meantime. If the brake bias settings, for example, don't take this into account, it's extremely easy to lock up a front wheel and cause a flat spot. Just like that, your lap's ruined and you've wasted a set of tyres to boot.
So here we are then going to turn one on our flying lap for Q1 here under the floodlights here at Bahrain. Did the practice programs in practice in FP1. Obviously not a very useful session being in the daylight here, and so now just a different condition and different setting and getting used to everything, and we're going to try and see what we can do in anger in this McLaren around Sakir as we go through the final corner, then kind of right in the curb, open DRS and across the line, and at the moment there it'll be P15, so that would be literally on the dot. But in terms of the actual lap time ahead of Sorokin there, I think that might be good enough, just about to scrape through into Q2 with that one flying lap there, as Alonso, you can see, is in P11, and by the time we end this session it will be thankfully enough to get through. Alonso improves to P9 and we are through once again by the skin of our teeth in P15 there. But I think unlike Australia, I don't have a lot of hopes actually of then improving quite some way to maybe get into Q3. I think once again we will not be making it into the top 10 shootout, because we didn't do so in Season 1 in Haas, and I don't think we even did in Season 2, did we? I can't even remember that far ago. I think we might have, maybe just by the skin of our teeth there, but I mean, it's just, this circuit is just a combination of, like I said, I'm not very great at it, and the AI are very good at it, so it's going to be difficult to try and beat Alonso, let alone the other AI cars around me on the grid. We go across the line, and to be fair, I thought that was a good lap time at first, because I was ahead of Sainz there, but it ends up being P12 at the moment, which is not too bad actually. I thought it was going to be a lot worse. I thought I was going to be down in P15 at the moment, but P12, I'll take that for now. You can see Alonso at the moment is in the top 10, so that surprised me to see him there, because he himself didn't make it into the top 10 in Australia, and I was expecting our car only to be worse here at Bahrain, so it looks like he's stepped up a little bit to the plate, and by the time we go out for another flying lap then, we're down to P13, so we really need to pull the time out the bag here on this flying lap here. And if it's not to get into the top 10, then simply just to improve our position. We're in P13 at the moment, just ahead of Lewis Hamilton, struggling in that Mercedes car and behind Carlos Sainz, so we can just improve up into P12 or P11. That alone will be better for me, but for now, at the moment, I'm also thinking about, can we just about maybe scrape into the top 10? Alonso's in there at the moment, so it wouldn't be great. It wouldn't be a great look if Alonso beat us once more in qualifying, and this time did actually make it into Q3. I mean, last time out in Australia, it was okay because he didn't make it in as well. But now here we go, DRS and across the line, and it is not going to be the P10 we wanted. At least it's going to be P12 behind Charles Leclerc in the Alfa Romeo Sauber in P11, and just ahead of Carlos Sainz there. And in the end, it'll be P12 with Alonso up in P7. So once again, I do not make it into the top 10, and unfortunately Alonso does. So That's frustrating, that's annoying, but also, let's look on the bright side. We get to choose a free choice of tyre. Fernando Alonso does not. He qualified on Supersofts in Q2, so he will have to start on that tyre. So all those top 10 runners will have to start on Supersofts, and we'll have to make a 2-stop, whereas we could try something different in the strategy. So let's go to the intro and for the grid, and then let's just go into the race and see what we can do on Sunday.
There's something in the Bahrain air tonight, and I'm not just talking about the sand. Our brightest minds have thrust their brightest ideas into the spotlight of the Sakhir circuit this evening as we look ahead once more to a Grand Prix that has thrilled us so consistently in the past. There's no shortage of passing opportunities around the 3.36 miles of the Bahrain International Circuit, with the best at turn 1 of course, and then another soon into turn 4. 15 corners here, 6 to the left and 9 to the right, and we could see 1 or 2 flat spots into the tight left-hander of turn 10. Well then, after an exciting qualifying session yesterday, let's take a look at how the cars line up. Sebastian Vettel has a clear track ahead of him today. He starts in pole position, edging out Max Verstappen, who'll start from P2. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Ricciardo, Hülkenberg, Kevin Magnussen, and Alonso, Perez, Grosjean, Leclerc, and Kimi Raikkonen. The engineer, Sainz, Lewis Hamilton, and Bottas, Stroll, Sirotkin, Marcus Ericsson, and Pierre Gasly. Ocon, they've taken a grid penalty, and Brendan Hartley rounds off the grid. Now it's almost time to lights out, so let's go down to the track.
So on the starting grid, we're going to start in P11, thanks to Esteban Ocon having a grid penalty then. So we're basically the best of the rest then, outside the top 10, in the highest position we could have hoped for, starting on these soft tyres. And we will be trying this audacious one-stop strategy to soft to medium tyre, try and jump some people with that and try and get some clean air, hopefully. You know, so far we've done, I think, the 2-stop both times in Season 1 and Season 2. So I think this time round, third time lucky, let's try out the one-stop and see how it works, because it seems pretty powerful for some of the AI cars around us in the past 2 seasons. Namely, the Saubers have really gained a lot from it in the last 2 seasons trying this one stop. So with us, theoretically, with a bit better of a car, we could do really quite well. It's going to be all about the start though, and then the kind of second phase of the race of when we get in that clean air, using that to good effect and not also getting held up in any kind of traffic that we don't need to be in. You know, when we get to that bridge, basically. So we're going to fill up on a lot of fuel because, of course, we found out from episode 1 of this season 3 that the car is very fuel efficient, so I can afford to run with 2.5 laps overboard of fuel and pretty much have rich mixed at the end of the race, I think. So that's going to be the best way to do this circuit, especially a bit of a power circuit, Bahrain, obviously. So let's just go then and see what we can do, try and make up for the disappointment that was Saturday for us in qualifying as we go to 5 red lights for round number 2 of season 3 here, the F1 2018 career mode. Fire lights are out and we're underway, and it is a pretty shocking start there. A lot of wheel spin in third and second gear there. Sainz flies past us on the left hand side, Hamilton also there, and Bottas with a major dive bomb down the inside. We're going to try and follow him though, and we get back past Carlos Sainz, trying to also navigate Kimi Raikkonen there, but look at Bottas go. He's overtaken 4 or 5 cars there at the start of this Grand Prix. He's up into P10, P9 maybe by the time we end sector 1 as we try and now go around the outside of Charles Leclerc, and once again finding ourselves battling Leclerc at the very start on the opening lap of a Grand Prix. Then happened in Australia, happened here at Bahrain, and this time round we haven't got him straight away. Then into the S section we gained quite a bit on that time, but into the hairpin hit him a little bit on the rear end as everything slows down a bit too fast for my liking. Leclerc once again a little bit slow. You can tell that the Sauber has got some pace on the traction zones. It's got a decent straight line speed, but it definitely does not have the downforce, because you can see I'm just absolutely mullering Leclerc left and right, hounding him, because in the corner he's literally a turtle, but on the exit of the corner you can see he does pretty damn well. And actually now I have to worry about Raikkonen trying to overtake me on the inside there. We're going to try and dispatch him if we can up the hill. We've got the racing line. He's on the outside there, and he's going to have to lift off. We squeeze him out back up into P11 after momentarily being down to P12, but Bottas is the real main gainer of that entire sequence there, up in P10 from what was, I think, P13 or 14 there. That amazing dive bomb down the inside of turn 1 there. That's pretty much like a player kind of style of dive bomb. But now, here we go now. Easy does it down the inside. Nice little switch back on the racing line compared to Leclerc, and we're able to get away up into P10. But then, what did I say? That Sauber is like a bit of a rocket ship in a straight line. So he's coming back at us along with the works Renault. Carlos Sainz, who's managed to overtake Raikkonen there. So the Renault once again flexing its muscles of having the second best engine on the grid, despite having maybe lacking in the chassis and aero department there. And we're going to keep P10, thankfully, though, through turns 1 and 2. And now we'll try and chase after that clean air ahead of us. And then Valtteri Bottas in P10, who is at the tail end of this entire train of a 1-2 for Red Bull. Then Verstappen leads Ricciardo. Then from Sebastian Vettel. Then it's Nico Hülkenberg in an amazing P4 there. So Sainz might be struggling a little bit, but Hülkenberg showing what good of a car that works Renault car actually has become in Season 3. Is able to kind of mix it with the big boys there. Then you've got Magnussen just behind him in P5, Alonso P6, P7 is Sergio Perez, and then you've got the other Haas of Grosjean and then Valtteri Bottas. But once again, unfortunately, you can see that glitch coming to play where I did not make it into Q3, and therefore the Haas cars did not qualify once again very well compared to how they were doing in Q1 and Q2. So a bit frustrating to see once again in this episode, but we are getting a really tasty fight here with the top 2 Red Bull cars as Ricciardo tried to make an overtaking pass for the race lead. Doesn't quite work, and so Verstappen keeps that, and you can see Hülkenberg doing some great defensive driving to kind of fend off Magnussen there, who's ahead and just behind him. And then you've got Alonso, who's got ahead and is ahead of Sergio Perez. So at the moment, both Haas cars, I would imagine, trying to get back into this Grand Prix using their actual race pace to try and overtake some cars. And then meanwhile, as we go through the laps then, all the way up until lap 5 then, and we are now finally starting to close up on Valtteri Bottas. So it was just about 3 laps there of just some clean air driving for us. Nothing really happened apart from trying to gain on this traffic here, and Bottas definitely is going quite slow. Obviously, we know the Mercedes car is now the 4th worst car on the grid, so I should be able to have him here with DRS open, Rich Mix going, and onto ERS, though he still has some pretty decent straight line speed. But into the corner, can we try and do something and set up a move maybe into the last sector? As you can see, he's quite slow up the hill. We swoop across, but nothing gained there, and Bottas remains in P10 like a rock for now. And through this second last corner now, sizing up the traction zone, plant the powers early as it can, and now we've got a very good run to try and set up once again a nice switchback move maybe as we go to the last corner. Nice and easy under the braking, turn in earlier than the car ahead, and we get it down the inside there. Bottas caught unawares, and we're up into P9, and in a straight line I shouldn't imagine Bottas is going to come back at us, but we'll see. We'll have to do some defensive driving into turns 1 of lap 6, but up ahead it is Grosjean now in P4. We're up into P5 as whilst we overtook Bottas there and went down the main straight, we've obviously had the first round of pit stops for a few people there. So already you can see quite an early pit stop there on lap number 5, but those super soft tyres going quite off there as now Grosjean makes a nice little move there down the inside on my teammate Fernando Alonso, and so Alonso now is the man directly ahead of me then on track in P4, and number 8 Romain Grosjean is up into P3 in this Grand Prix. P2 at the moment is Sergio Perez, and then P1 is Daniel Ricciardo. So Verstappen, Vettel, Magnussen have all come in for their pit stops, as well as Hülkenberg and that Renault as well. And then eventually on the very next lap 6, the rest of them will come in as well, and we'll go up into P1 of the Grand Prix along with Bottas into P2. It looks like Raikkonen and Sainz will also stay out with us despite being on super soft tyres, and then behind them I believe it's Lewis Hamilton then in the other Mercedes car. So in the next lap or so we just continue going on and doing our thing and trying to stretch the gap, or trying to at least keep the gap to Bottas then, and trying to do the best job we can at stretching these tyres. We're going to go to about hopefully lap 11 or 12 on these soft tyres, and then to the mediums to the end of the Grand Prix. But you can see there it is Hamilton that is behind Bottas eventually once Raikkonen and Carlos Sainz do make their pit stops from super softs. It's going to be then Hamilton v Valtteri Bottas then in the desert here under the floodlights. 2 Mercedes will go toe to toe once again here in the V6 era as Hamilton goes round the outside of Bottas, then sparks flying away, and Hamilton tries to brake as late as he can. He does the job actually into turn 1. Nice move there, and he's up into P2. Bottas P3. That will help us out though, because that will mean that we get a bit more of a gap then to those 2 Mercs. And what's good for me is the other guys who have already made their pit stops now on this 2-stop strategy on 2 super soft 2 sets of softs. They're fighting hard now. You've got Magnussen trying to overtake Hülkenberg, unable to do it, and behind him you've got Romain Grosjean and then Sergio Perez, and it looks like now the 2 Haas cars are going to fight. Then Grosjean down the inside of Magnussen. The 2 make some contact there, but this is all helping me because as long as these guys keep fighting and kind of, you know, getting each other's ways, they're going to slow each other down, and so that 2-stop is going to look less and less likely to work against my 1-stop here, and also the 1-stopper made the Mercedes car, so we'll have to see about that. But these two still fighting there, Bottas and Hamilton, and Bottas tried to have a little look down the inside of turn 2, didn't work out, but he's got a good slingshot effect now to the end of sector 1. He'll go to the outside then as they go round the outside. Bottas, will he make it work? Will Hamilton squeeze him out? This is literally like Hamilton v Rosberg all over again from 2014 there. Hamilton trying to squeeze out his teammate on the outside there, and he does do it into the S section. Hamilton will keep P2 ahead of P3, but you can see there Verstappen now is not too far off the back of these guys, so their fighting has not helped each other out, and it's helped me out as well because I've just been able to waltz away. And then right behind Verstappen is a great fight between Vettel and Ricciardo, the two former Red Bull teammates there. Vettel just managed to keep ahead of Ricciardo then, so it looks like Vettel has jumped Ricciardo in the pit stop phases, or he might have just literally overtaken him just then, and he's up into effectively a net P2, because remember it was Verstappen from Ricciardo and Vettel, and now it's the other way around. Vettel sandwiches the two Red Bull cars. But now on to lap 13 then. We've done some really great work. Remember I said I wanted to go to lap 12 or 11. We've gone one lap better onto lap 13 on these soft tyres, and only now the tyres feeling pretty second-hand, so now we're going to come in for a set of medium tyres, and that will see us on to the end of the Grand Prix. I'm not looking forward to these though, because I've never ran the mediums in the race in career mode so far, so I can't imagine how horrible these mediums are going to feel, but they are going to have the durability that we need to go right to the end of the Grand Prix. And the hope is, as we go on through this stint, of course, the rest of the guys around us, they're all on soft tyres. Hopefully their softs start to wear out to the point where my mediums become faster than their soft tyres eventually. But you can see a Toro Rosso stricken in the background there. I think that's Brendan Hartley, who's retired at this Grand Prix, so only 19 runners. And we come out in P11 then with Fernando Alonso, my teammate, up in P10 just ahead of me there. So it looks like he's struggling a little bit now in this second phase of the Grand Prix. But we go immediately back to this scrap then between Daniel Ricciardo and Vettel there. Ricciardo on the outside, he'll be the inside for the next turn there. Will he get it? No, Vettel squeezes the throttle pedal there, and he's able to keep up into P2. And you can see just in the foreground there, Verstappen still remaining in a cool, calm P1. Definitely a very controlled drive there from the young Dutchman so far in this race. Then P4 is still, surprisingly, Nico Hülkenberg doing a fabulous job in the works Renault. Then Sergio Perez, who looks like he's just overtaken actually the Haas, or is defending from that the two Haas cars. They both are now stuck behind the Force India. It looks like they're Magnussen, Grosjean, and then you've got Fernando Alonso there trying to catch up with Kimi Raikkonen as well. So now we move on to lap 16, back to our POV, and you can see I'm now starting to actually catch Alonso here and that entire pack. As I said, eventually my mediums will be faster than their super softs, but the only reason is they're coming to the end of their stint. So as we move on to the last corner there, I was kind of hoping I could have some overtaking action here and overtake my teammate maybe, but he comes straight in there for his second pit stop. All of them do in that kind of first second half train of the top 10, and so we're up into P5 then, and so the remaining top 4 will continue on for one more lap then. You can see that's Raikkonen remaining out on track. I think Vettel has come in then, and eventually Raikkonen will come in as we move on to the end of that lap 17 there. He's right up the back of that Haas car, so that's going to be a nice fight brewing there, along with Sergio Perez also in. So we go across the line then for lap number 18 then. We've got 11 laps to go, and we're going to be up into P1 as Verstappen just comes out of the pit lane there. On the minimap you can see his blue dot there, and we get ahead of him. It looks like Verstappen also might have to contend with the other car of Ocon there. Actually, surprisingly, Ocon's come out of nowhere, and he's now in P2 there on soft tyres, but he's on a 2-stop and just yet to pit there, very strangely. But it is me then in P1, like I said, Ocon P2, Verstappen P3 then, so he's already ahead of the Mercedes cars, or not quite actually, because look at that, Hamilton is trying to go round his outside there. Verstappen, strangely enough, is on a 2-stop and has decided to pit onto medium tyres despite being on a 2-stop, and it's only 11 laps to go. You don't need mediums for 11 laps, but looks like both Red Bull cars are too worried about their tyre wear there. They're both on mediums, but Verstappen just about stays ahead of Hamilton and Bottas then, who are also on that same 1-stop as me. And then as we just cycle through, basically just giving you a nice show of where all the cars are. And actually Fernando Alonso has ended up way down the order. I think at the moment as it stands, he's like all the way in the bottom half half of the table at the moment on the grid for some reason. He's really gone down the pecking order then, and so he's just not had the pace on those soft tyres. And even worse now, he's also on mediums at the end of this race. So he's on the same set of tyres as I am, and yet he's done a 2-stop in this race. So, you know, comparing to last episode where he had a fantastic strategy, Alonso with a bit of an odd one this one now. And now we've got some smoke for Nico Hülkenberg. That is such a shame for the German. He was doing so well. He was in about a net P4 position, doing amazing flying the flag for the yellow banana car for Renault, and now he's retired out the Grand Prix, engine failure, smokes out, and that's actually going to cause the full safety car, because that was in a bit of a dangerous spot there. So the full safety car is out. So this is now a bit of a game changer for us, because initially it was going to be a very nervy 10 laps of me going to the end on medium tyres and having a pretty damn quick Verstappen, and you would imagine Ricciardo and Vettel, they'll get past the 2 Mercedes cars and come chasing us, and so pretty much I was going to have a case of trying to defend as much as I could. But now the safety car's out, we have a chance to mix things up, because obviously everyone will bunch up now because it's the full safety car. Verstappen is just there. So, in my mind, there is no point staying out. I may as well take my free pit stop here, go on to faster tyres, go on to a nice brand spanking new set of soft tyres, and be very punchy after the safety car period. We'll come out in about P7, P8, I think, according to the numbers there on the right-hand side on the heads-up display. So Verstappen will go through. But the thing is, I would rather have this be P8 and be able to fight forwards than be in P1 and just go backwards. And so effectively, I think in theory, I should be able to finish higher than I would be if I was trying to defend on medium tyres. I'm going to be much more comfortable attacking on soft tyres. We'll have to see if it's the right opportunity, the right choice. Obviously, I'm just saying this as a kind of guesstimate, as I think I feel like I'm a much better driver when I'm attacking on fresh tyres than I am defending on worn tyres. And so we get out in P8 then, ahead of Romain Grosjean and behind Magnussen. So in between my old team here in Haas. But at the moment now, it looks like Magnussen and Perez are the only cars on soft tyres. And as we go through under the safety car, it's Verstappen then leading the 2 Mercedes cars on medium tyres. Second Hamilton, Bottas third, Vettel then in P4, then Ricciardo, Perez, Magnussen, myself, Grosjean, then you got the Sauber, Raikkonen, I think that is, and then you got Fernando Alonso. But crucially, like I said, the only cars there in the top 10 on soft tyres are myself, Magnussen, and Sergio Perez. Everyone else is on either worn or relatively worn medium tyres. So I think we have a very good chance. And also Magnussen and Perez, remember, they're on worn soft tyres. I've got the freshest tyres out of the entire bunch here, so we're in a very, very good position here. It's just about if we can do the job here in the last remaining 8 laps, and we could get some pretty damn good points here, I think, instead of just lowly P8. So now as we rev up for the green light then, and we get going for racing once again, you can see being quite pedantic, we're trying to heat up the tyres, but for good reason. Obviously, it's very, very difficult in this year's game to heat up these tyres under the safety car. But now here we prepare our car then. Rich mix, we can go rich mix to the end of the race now, and we've got a whole battery of ERS. So here we go then, as we're off, and it's green, 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 and racing again here at the Bahrain Grand Prix. 8 laps to go, and it's been a pretty piss-poor start there compared to Magnussen. And here comes his teammate Grosjean there to the inside. We're going to squeeze him to the inside there. Going to go back to the racing line and have the outside line for turn 1. But Grosjean actually does me there and actually nearly makes some contact and takes out his teammate Magnussen. And so for now, I've actually lost 1 position. So for all that talk I just talked about for a minute about overtaking cars, ironically, I've literally just been done and had my pants pulled down to turn 1. But don't worry, we can come back once the tyres fully heat up. These soft tyres will be the better tyre to be on compared to these mediums ahead of us there. And here we go, already closing up back up to Grosjean through the S section. We're going to have to make a dive bomb here. We're going to have to make it work. We can't dawdle now with these passes. You know, traffic is not in my dictionary anymore. We have to get through, and we just have to make the overtakes work. Because at the moment, Verstappen in P1, and you got Bottas fending off Vettel for P3 there. Meanwhile, Hamilton does the work in P2, doing quite well. For now, at the moment, the 2 Mercs in a very good position, P2 and P3. Remember, like I said, they are the 4th worst car on the grid now. So that would be a very lofty height position for the Mercedes to finish today with a double podium. And at the moment now, looks like it hasn't worked out for Vettel. He's actually been squeezed out to the point where now he's down to P5 and finds himself behind Daniel Ricciardo. Ricciardo now up into P4, and Perez now is looking at the back of Vettel's gearbox box then, and just behind him is then the Haas car, I think, of Kevin Magnussen. But I don't think the double podium dream for Mercedes is going to last too long, because now in the next lap, Bottas double lock up into the end of Sector 1, and Ricciardo is simply down the inside very easily, and he's up into P3 now, and now it's going to be Bottas against Vettel once more. But to be fair, Hamilton's doing a pretty good job to still keep that other Merc in second place. But will Vettel now pounce on Bottas, and will we be able to pounce on Kevin Magnussen now? Because we're closing up now, this trend is bunching up even more on lap 24, and we're still only in P8. So let's get a move on here and try and overtake Magnussen if we can. We find the grip there, look at that, the beautiful momentum around the outside of that left-hander. That is such a weird place to make an overtake, but we try to make it happen. Magnussen pulls through, you can see the straight line speed and the lightness of that Haas car that we left in Season 2, but it's no use there. We have the grip around the outside. The tyre grip is always going to make the difference here in this kind of situation when it's a bit of a sprint race, and it's almost kind of like the Italian Grand Prix 2.0 from Season 2, except maybe a little bit less frantic due to the lack of slipstream here at Bahrain compared to Monza, but it's still the closest thing we can get, as now Vettel goes round the outside of Bottas then through the final corner to get up into P4 himself, and Bottas might just lose another position to Sergio Perez. And Perez, actually, you know what, I think he's having a look at Sebastian Vettel. There you go, the Force India is flying at the moment, and Perez is up into P4 now, and Vettel is down to P6. He tried to overtake for P4 and is now down to P6. How tragic is that? And now it might be P7, Sonny Jim, because we now are going to come through on the left hand side. Vettel, bit of contact made as he swipes across us. This is a little bit personal here at the moment there for me, around the outside of the Ferrari car that I'm not in for this season and might be in for next season, but we've done the job against Vettel. We're around the outside and we now are ahead of both Ferrari cars, so that's going to be a nice thing to stick it to the Ferrari bosses up ahead. But now can we try and go even further and overtake Valtteri Bottas now for a second time in this Grand Prix, maybe at the end of Sector 3, maybe trying to set up this move on lap 25 now. Find the grip, here we go, hot lap mode engaged on ERS, rich mix going, no DRS obviously on this straight, but into the final corner it's going to be a bit of deja vu for me. Nice and easy under braking, down the inside, tighter line, and Bob's your uncle, and we're up into P5 then of the Bahrain Grand Prix. And now can we try and chase after Sergio Perez? Let's see. But actually, to be fair, the fighting may not be over for me, because here comes Bottas back at me with DRS and Sebastian Vettel. Vettel round the outside of turn 1 tries to get me. We're going to just hold the racing line there, give him the room. To be fair, we give him all the room in the world there, and he just can't pull it through, so that's his fault there for not keeping it through and keeping it side by side. And he's going to go even further down the order, I think, because Magnussen now is around the outside of him, and it's a bit of a tandem overtake then for both Haas cars. Magnussen on Vettel and Grosjean on Bottas there with this nice aerial shot. You can see Grosjean still fighting away on the outside. Bottas comes back with that ebb and flow of the S section, but Magnussen completely clear of Vettel then. So if Grosjean can get past Bottas and then Vettel, this would be very tasty in terms of the Ferrari camp fighting there, as Grosjean is down the inside eventually, and now we'll have a chance to get on the back of Sebastian Vettel. And if like I said, if Grosjean does get ahead of Vettel, then both Haas Ferrari cars will be ahead of both Works Ferraris, so that will be very interesting to see. But as we move on a little bit further up the road, just showing you that Perez still trying to chase down Hamilton in P3 now, because Ricciardo, we missed the overtake there whilst we're looking at the fighting between the Haas and the Ferrari, but Ricciardo has overtaken Hamilton, so it's now a 1-2 once again for Red Bull Racing, with Verstappen leading the way from Ricciardo. Third place was Lewis Hamilton, but it might just be Sergio Perez now as we go down to turn 1. That Force India in a straight line has been so good over the last few episodes, really, from the back end of Season 2. For now, though, on that lap, Hamilton stays put in P3, puts up a good defensive drive there against Perez, and so Perez might need to be a bit patient and wait for the very next lap then as we go on to the end. And round the outside, he tries it at the last corner. It's going to be close, but he actually has the space there. Hamilton gives him the room, and now he'll have DRS, and it's going to be a pretty simple pass, and Perez should be up into P3. He's going to have to make sure he is defensive enough into turn 1, though, but it looks like actually he's completely pulled away from Hamilton. So it is now Perez in a really good P3 for Force India, just behind that 1-2 of Red Bull, and Hamilton now is going to be vulnerable, and let's see if we can get him. And behind us, the two Haas cars are indeed ahead of both Works Ferrari cars. Look at that, Grosjean has overtaken Vettel, so that is quite something there. Both Haas Ferraris ahead of both Works Ferraris, and so there's going to be some questions back in Maranello for sure, and Bottas in the middle of both of those Ferrari cars. And for now, I want to say also Fernando Alonso, unfortunately for his sake, like I said, a very poor strategy from Alonso. I think he's outside the top 10 now, because yeah, the mind boggles at why he and so many other people did a 2-stop and yet still pit onto medium tyres. Yeah, very, very strange, especially because McLaren does have an ultimate tyre upgrade installed onto the car. So, yeah, very, very odd. We're going to have to try and dissect that maybe in the debrief after the race and see what went on there. But for us now, on towards the last lap of the Grand Prix, can we try and snag P4 from Lewis Hamilton? This would be a very, very lofty position for us here, considering where we qualified and where we were earlier in the race on medium tyres here. We've set our personal best time now. Obviously, we're on the best tyre we've been on the entire race long. We're on the lowest fuel as well, so we're just going faster and faster. But will it be fast enough to overtake Lewis Hamilton? At the moment, you can see there, despite Hamilton and the Mercedes car having a lack of downforce and maybe not being too great these days on the chassis front, they still have a pretty good straight line speed, and it's also why I feel like we need to do some drag reduction updates, because the car, even though we've got a pretty good engine, theoretically, on the R&D chart, it doesn't feel like we have a lot of oomph in a straight line to get the slipstream off some cars. So I think we need to continue to update the drag here on this package. And I think once we get that sorted, I think this car will be a very, very good car to be reckoned with. And so on the last lap here, going on towards the last sector, I'm still unable to get past Hamilton. You see, I'm trying everything on the left and right there of that left hand, where it's very, very easy to lock up, and maybe a place where Hamilton makes a mistake but unable to do anything. And then as you climb up the hill, then a place where the AI lose a bit of time up the hill, I'm gaining it. We're in high ERS there. We're going to go up into hot lap mode now for the final part of the lap, and we can see we're right up the chuff here. And so now this is our last chance there onto the last corner of the last lap of the Grand Prix. Here we go. We've been waiting the entire lap to make a move here. Around the outside it'll be Hamilton still there on the inside there. He's still then side by side with me, and so across the line, a photo finish for P4 at the Bahrain Grand Prix. It's an excellent result here.
Take care of the car on the way in.
A great win then for the Red Bull team today. Anthony, what do you think made the difference here?
Without a doubt, the safety car changed everything today. The key to their success was keeping calm and reacting to the situation quickly. We've seen teams in the past throw away wins because they were too hesitant, but here they were decisive, and that's allowed them to take the advantage.
And now it's time to wind down and celebrate after that fantastic Grand Prix. Here they come, your top three, out onto the podium.
So very successful race here then at the Bahrain Grand Prix. Took advantage of that late safety car, and that pretty much saved our entire race, because I think I probably would have finished only around P8 or P9 if it wasn't for that safety car. But inspired choice to go on soft tyres then at the end and make the most of fresh rubber, and so we do get back up ahead of Fernando Alonso then in the championship. But to be fair, he got very unlucky today with his strategy, and I'm sure he'll be back bouncing back at the Chinese Grand Prix. But for the constructors then, with Ferrari having a bit of a poorer race, Red Bull now take the lead of the constructors championship, Ferrari in second. But to be fair, we're still there in P3, so not too bad to come away from Bahrain in P3, still ahead of Force India Mercedes, and Haas will be kicking themselves to still be there behind them. But I think it's only a matter of time. Eventually, once I also hopefully try to get into the top 10 more regularly, you'll finally stop having that qualifying glitch for Haas, and then maybe they can actually show their true colours, because you saw some glimpses there of their true race pace. And also for Renault, to be fair, to say that HOCKENHEIM was in P4 at one point, they're going to be really annoyed. They have 0 points to show for it so far this season. They're going to be very, very annoyed by that. But anyway, let's get into the last question then with Claire for the interview before rounding out the episode.
The fans really seem to enjoy that. You made it look easy. You were cutting your way through the field during the race.
I'm going to go with the right-hand side answer. Didn't look like anyone had as much grip as we did. And I was talking about in a tyre wear sense, but looks like the game's going to think I was talking about the Aero department there.
You're beating all expectations. Would you say we all underestimated you?
McLaren's a sportsmanship kind of team, so I'm going to be a bit sportsmanship-like here with my answer and say it's the entire thing, the entire team on the left-hand side there.
It wasn't the cleanest race today, was it?
And then with this question, I'm just going to be like, I'm an idiot magnet. We got into a few wars, and again, ironically, it's, I think, to do with the altercation we had with Leclerc at the beginning.
Great. Well, that's everything.
So twice now I've had an interview question about Leclerc and the incident I had with him, and it's another rep decrease for Sauber, so I'm definitely not going to be maybe driving for Sauber next season with the rep decreasing every single episode. But at the moment then, Alonso still beats me in the rivalry then with my teammate there. We get an extra 400 points on R&D for getting over 12 points in the championship then, so that'll be very, very good for upgrades going into the end of this episode then, because I don't think we actually had too many points then after we spent that upgrade going into Bahrain. And we also have to choose a rival for the season. And the only rival I get given at the moment is Sergio Perez. And to be fair, he's ahead of us in the championship, just about. And Force India should be a team we have in our back pocket, hopefully. So, to be fair, it's a pretty good kind of recommendation by the game. So, I chose Perez in the end. And so, we're going to have Alonso and Perez to try and get the wool over their eyes every single race now until that rivalry ends. But now, to look on to upgrades then and seeing what we could do. Now, I was being very over-ambitious and thinking about we could do an ultimate upgrade on the chassis, but that's going to cost a lot of points, and at the moment I kind of need some immediate updates to take this car at least to where I need it to be to, you know, get some consistent points and get some, you know, good races under our belt. So I'm going to go for a major drag reduction update that'll take 2 weeks, so it will come in for the Azerbaijan Baku Gp, so that'll be the perfect place to get a major drag reduction. Hopefully it doesn't fail on the car because we've got some quality control, remember, that the AI team did from last episode. We talked that through, so hopefully that will come in, and that'll be a big chunk and leap ahead of Haas and also some other teams in the Aero department to reduce the drag. Obviously, it'll help the car out on other circuits as well, because I feel like our car is lacking some straight line speed, slipstream when we're, you know, in a battle, so that'll be good. But guys, if you did enjoy what was a really, really awesome race for us, then smash that like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you're new around here, do get subscribed for weekly full-on content. I've been Avraham, home trust of the day, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.